One wedge. Earth, February 22nd, 35:22 noon. It's lunchtime, and many people habitually enjoy their lunch while watching the news. FF2 channel is the most authoritative channel after FF1. Most of the news broadcast during prime time at noon is very serious.
It is the same today.
Countless people are accustomed to waiting for the news to end. But in the last minute, the announcer simply said, the head of the Federation, Mr. Tang Xianong, officially signed a divorce agreement with Mr. Su Lin at 8 o'clock this morning. The two ended their marriage peacefully. Gujing dropped the last bomb without any waves, but many people burst into excitement. Oh no, I don't believe it. Someone collapsed. It's so exciting. How come there's no news at all? It's unbelievable, someone said suspiciously. Great. I have already told them that there will be no good results. Someone said excitedly. I don't believe in love anymore. Someone said sadly. Tang Xianong, the youngest and handsome head of state since the establishment of the federal government, participated in the election at the age of 25. After 3 years of competition, he took the position of head of state at the age of 28 and became the youngest head of state in the history of the Federation. In the same year, despite any objections, he firmly entered into a legal marriage with Mr. Su Lin, a gay man, which caused countless right and wrong topics. The two had their first child through genetic breeding technology in the second year of their marriage, and their second child in the third year of their marriage. On this day in 3522, the 10-year marriage ended. Although countless people are curious about the reason, it is still too difficult to know the gossip about the head of state. The news only announces the fact that they are divorced, just like the fact that they got married 10 years ago. When the people's hearts were itching to gossip, a group of people in suits and leather shoes were gathering in a majestic and luxurious building in the imperial capital. This group of people simply sat around the long table and listened calmly to the lawyer reading out the boring legal provisions. Su Lin listened quietly. He had not spoken since he signed the divorce agreement in the morning. I don't know how long it took, but Su Lin was unaware of the passage of time until the lawyer asked, Mr. Su? Does Mr. Su have any questions? Su Lin looked back at him numbly, scanning his eyes, and stared at Tang Xianong in the crowd of men in black suits. Tang Xianong looked at the documents in his hands expressionlessly, as if he would not frown even if the sky fell. Su Lin then looked at a young man whom Tang Xianong had attacked. The man was currently a federal general, with great military exploits and a heroic figure. The man raised his head and smiled at Su Lin, as cordial and friendly as before. Mr. Su, the lawyer shouted. Su Lin held his forehead and sighed tiredly, then put down his hand and hung it under the table. He raised his head and smiled helplessly. I have no doubts and no objections. The lawyer breathed a sigh of relief, and everyone present secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Even Tang Xianong rarely put down the documents and looked up at Su Lin. Thank you for your cooperation. This is what I should do. Su Lin smiled and naturally took out his hand from under the table. No one expected this. When the bullet in his hand flew towards Tang Xianong, everything changes from now on. AE and hashtag 10084. AE separating line at the beginning AE and hashtag 10084. AE. Is he awake? In the spacious and bright office, the man sitting at his desk asked without raising his head after hearing the familiar footsteps, and the pen in his hand did not pause at all. The visitor responded respectfully. Mr. Su has woken up safely. The injury on his chest will take about 2 months to fully recover. The busy man didn't even move his brows, and his calm voice was extremely cold. Since your life is out of danger, let's just do business. Yes. The Secretary General was shocked and couldn't believe the result. But considering the severity of the incident, Mr. Su deserved this result. Mr. Su is too ignorant. Even if he cannot accept the fact of divorce, he should not attack the head of state. Although he is completely motivated by personal resentment, Tang Xianong is his ex-husband and also the head of the federal government. His life is extremely precious, and even 100,000 Mr. Su cannot afford it. What's more, he attacked the head of state in front of so many congressmen, and there were so many witnesses that it was impossible for the head of state to forgive Mr. Su. Although the head of state was only scratched on his arm and the injury was not serious, it was of a bad nature. The members were divided into two groups. Some believed that Su Lin should be sentenced to death or life imprisonment. However, another group proposed that both Su Lin and Su Lin's father, Professor Su Xiang, had made great contributions to the country. If Su Lin was sentenced to death, many people would not be able to accept it. After all, Professor Su Xiang is the father of the great Jin. Su Lin himself also inherited his father's legacy and has been actively researching genes for many years. Although he does not have the achievements of his father, he has made many contributions to mankind. The Lianjiyuan finally adopted a vote to decide the matter, which involved his own private matters. Tang Xiangang completely avoided suspicion, and everything was decided by the members. In fact, at the moment of the attack on Tang Xianong, Su Lin was shot back by Tang Xuanong's bodyguards on the spot. A bullet hit his chest. It was unknown whether he could survive without any genetic evolution. Fortunately, Su Lin woke up safely a week later. When he woke up in the hospital, he heard the court's verdict at the same time. 5 years in prison. Obtaining this verdict after attacking the head of state is the greatest forgiveness for him. Su Lin only woke up for a few minutes at first. After that, he woke up and fell into coma many times. He survived the dangerous period intermittently. After a month of treatment, Su Lin was quietly moved from the Imperial Capital First Hospital to the prison. The independent cell is as clean and tidy as the ward. It has a bathroom and a projector TV and is in good condition. If it weren't for the locked iron door, it wouldn't be obvious that it was a prison cell. After waking up, Su Lin was listless and has not spoken yet. He allowed doctors who came in and out to treat him. Except for treatment time and meal time, Su Lin basically slept. 2 months later, Su Lin finally made a full recovery and doctors evacuated the prison. Su Lin was the only one left in the cell, and he knew that no one would bother him again. Su Lin, who was still weak, looked at the closed cell and smiled strangely with his pale mouth. 2 Chapter 1 Su Lin. The fastest update to the latest chapter of Rebirth of the Future, Urban Immortal Journey. Chapter 1 Su Lin. June 3rd, 3522, early summer, air prison. The warden opened cell number 202 himself, and his eyes flashed when he saw a man with his legs crossed in the room, eating potato chips. Then he said nonchalantly, "Mr. Su, please come out with me. Someone will come to visit you." Su Lin's eyes lit up and he asked curiously, "Someone actually comes to see me? Is it someone named Tang?" "The man named Tang." The warden felt dizzy. "Please come out with me." Su Lin was full of suspicion. He threw down the potato chips and followed him out. He kept asking noisily along the way, "Who are you? Please find out first. Is it Tang? Hey, could it be Su? Are my 2 children? Did you report the request I made last time? Have the results come out?" The warden broke out in a cold sweat. He couldn't figure out why the head of state's ex-partner had such a noisy and lively personality. Sometimes he was like a child. The various requests he made in recent months seemed willful and arrogant, which was completely inconsistent with the Queen Su he knew from the media before. Queen Su, as the media and people jokingly call her, cannot genetically evolve and is a real ordinary person, but no one doubts her excellence. She graduated from the highest university at the age of 16 and then inherited her father's legacy and entered the Institute of Genetics, where she made several breakthroughs and brought great blessings to the people. Queen Su, reported in the media, is wise, smart, gentle, and elegant, comparable to a workaholic, a good and responsible man, and he is a well-deserved handsome man. Even if some people cannot accept their same-sex marriage, it has to be said that Su Lin and Tang Xiangang are a good match, at least in appearance. Su Lin rarely appears in public and has accepted a handful of interviews on behalf of the Institute of Genetics. From the interview program, Su Lin gives the impression of a gentle man, a very gentle man, and handles reporters' questions well. Many reporters secretly muttered that this is a man with a hidden knife in his smile, and it is difficult to deal with him. In 10 years, more and more people have gradually become accustomed to the alternative marriage of the head of state, and they have gradually accepted Queen Su. After all, he is indeed very good. Although he is a man, same-sex marriage has been completely included in the legal scope of mankind 200 years ago. The rights that the people can enjoy, the head of state is no exception. What's more, breakthroughs in genetic breeding have completely solved the problem of same-sex reproduction. Su Lin was taken to the interview room. He saw the two people waiting outside. They looked familiar, but he couldn't remember who they were. Su Lin stopped making noise and sat down quietly. One of the two people opposite was sitting and the other was standing. The man sitting there smiled and said, "Long time no see, Mr. Su." Su Lin smiled implicitly. "Are you?" The man was slightly surprised. "I am the Secretary General." Su Lin suddenly realized. "Oh, I remember, I saw you on TV. Thank you. I am here today to respond to Mr. Su's request." The Secretary General took out the document. Su Lin said with a smile, "I feel sorry for bothering the Secretary General to come in person for such a trivial matter." The Secretary General was roaring in his heart. The matter was indeed not big, but it was too weird and deceiving. God knew that after Su Lin's request was made, the head of state's indifference reached a new level, making him tremble as if in hell. The Secretary General coughed a few times and signaled the warden and others to move away. Only one guard was left beside him before he said, "The first 9 requests you made have been approved." He was a little speechless. He didn't expect that Su Lin's request was completely hedonistic and related to material things. Everything he wanted to eat, drink, wear, and where was the best, even the books he requested. It's all YY and comics to pass the time. Is this still the same Mr. Su? In the past, Mr. Su wished he could spend his meal time studying his major. He often chatted about professional issues when dating Mr. Tang. Mr. Tang did not show any displeasure, but the Secretary General noticed that Mr. Tang was very unhappy at that time. Perhaps this was one of the reasons why their marriage came to an end. The Secretary General sighed. Su Lin also asked for a computer to play games. This request was granted, but unfortunately, he could only have one computer and could not connect to the internet. And these are all minor issues. Letting the former queen and excellent genetics professor enjoy a good life in prison does not challenge the bottom line of the top management. After all, these will have little impact. But the 10th request was too weird and bold. When the Secretary General first presented the document to Mr. Tang, he shed a liter of cold sweat in just 1 minute and almost collapsed. "Can't agree to the last one? Why?" Su Lin expressed surprise and a little angry. The Secretary General glanced at him. Mr. Su in front of him was too ignorant. He was already a prisoner. Why can't you just settle down? He doesn't have the calmness and tolerance of before, but looks like a willful dandy. Meeting all his material requirements is already the greatest tolerance. He even suggested that if he wanted to meet his physiological requirements on a regular basis, he needed a beautiful woman with a great figure. Is this really the same Mr. Su from before? Others don't know it, but he knows it very well as he follows the head of state every day. The head of state and Mr. Su are both workaholics. They don't actually spend much time together, and of course they have very few physical needs. Fortunately, they are not lecherous people, and they are even a bit frigid. Besides, Mr. Su obviously likes men. Why did he weirdly ask for a beautiful woman? The Secretary General was still silently venting his anger, but Su Lin couldn't wait to lower the conditions. "Why can't we arrange a beautiful woman?" "Well, it doesn't matter if she's not a beautiful woman. As long as she's not ugly, she can accompany me once a month." The Secretary General shook the rattle and said firmly, "No, absolutely not. No one can meet your request. No woman can enter this prison. Don't forget, you're a prisoner now, so don't ask too much." Su Lin gritted his teeth and compromised. Can't women? He also expected that this request was too much. After all, this was a male prison, and there was not even a female mouse. Forget it if a woman is not good, then, you can also arrange for a handsome boy, but he must be clean and must not be sick. The Secretary General's eyes widened. If looks could kill, Su Lin would have been shot into a sieve. Su Lin laughed dryly. Isn't this possible? The Secretary General slammed the table angrily. Mr. Su, I can't accept your teasing. Please talk to me seriously. Su Lin curled his lips and said in a waning mood, This won't work, and that won't work either. Forget it. My last request. Explain. Su Lin said angrily. I want to change the prison. Change the cell. The Secretary General was surprised. Why? Because of the arrangements made by the top management, Su Lin received special care. He had an independent cell and did not need to suffer labor or mix with other prisoners. Even if he had a slight cold, a doctor would see him immediately. I'm not autistic, don't put me in a cell. I want to be with other prisoners. Even if I have to work, it doesn't matter. The Secretary General collapsed. Why are there such stupid people? Mr. Su, do you really know what the life of other prisoners is like? If Su Lin is locked up with other prisoners, even if someone arranges internal care, no one can guarantee to keep an eye on him 24 hours a day. This will inevitably lead to Su Lin being bullied and humiliated by other prisoners. If that turns out to be true, damn, he will die. Of course, Su Lin knew where the prison was and the dark life there, but this could not stop him from longing for people. God knew how uncomfortable it was to be alone in the cell every day without anyone to talk to him. Then give me a computer to connect to the internet. I need people to talk to me. Anyone can do it. Network, okay. I will arrange it for you as soon as possible. Do you have any other requests? The Secretary General sighed tiredly. It has only been a few months, and Mr. Su can't bear the loneliness? He really suspected that the old Mr. Su had changed. Su Lin shook his head happily. No, not for the time being. Thank you, Tang, for me. The surname is Tang. The Secretary General smiled bitterly, hesitated, and said, Mr. Su, there is one more thing I want to tell you in advance, although you'll be able to see it on TV soon. What's up? The head of state will remarry on the 1st of next month. Su Lin was surprised. With whom? General Qin. Su Lin sprayed. General Qin? This title is really overbearing. He recalled it, and the information about King Qin's general came to mind. I'll take my leave today. Please take care of yourself, Mr. Su. Bye. Su Lin waved his hand and walked briskly back to the cell. 3 Chapter 2 Release from Prison. The fastest update to the latest chapter of Rebirth of the Future, Urban Immortal Journey. Chapter 2 Release from Prison. Jumping back on the soft bed, Su Lin smiled slyly. Haha, I'm not a fool. I won't give up my current comfortable conditions and go to a miserable group cell. He was just testing the bottom line of a certain head of state. As he expected, even though he was divorced, that kind of man would definitely not be able to accept his ex being out of control, and no man or woman would agree. Don't think in terms of the rules of the socially progressive marriage law. He just needs to think of the man named Tang as an emperor. Not to mention that the president, and head of state are different from the ancient emperors. Although they cannot enjoy the 3 palaces and 6 courtyards openly, those people's desire for control, possessiveness, and domineering are unmatched by ordinary people. As his predecessor named Tang, Su Lin must either die or live alone. Even if he is released from prison in the future, if he wants to love and marry freely, the chance of success is very small. Su Lin deliberately made excessive demands to test his bottom line. Sure enough, after being rejected, it was much easier to ask for internet access in a roundabout way. Lo and behold, it worked. Give me a network cable, it would be better to leave me on an island. When the warden delivered the computer, Su Lin Lei came again. Su Lin was taking a shower. When he heard the computer was delivered, he immediately rushed out of the bathroom with great joy, wearing only a bath towel around his waist. Is this really the former queen? So bold and bold? The warden quickly lowered his head and worked. Su Lin doesn't care about his own honor at all, so what should he care about? A 38-year-old ordinary man. Due to a long-term heavy workload, the blow of divorce, and a gunshot wound to his chest, this man has long since aged and entered the terrible middle age. Even though he was once handsome, in the mirror now he has obvious layers of wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, some silver threads in his hair, his face is sickly pale, his skin is sagging, he is thin and shriveled, and he has no sense of beauty at all. He looks like he is 48 years old. Su Lin excitedly connected to the internet, and then discovered that the limitations of the local area network were terrible.
Damn.
I can't open this or that. I can't connect to online games. He went crazy after a series of attempts. The scope of his activities online was only a small area, and the websites he logged in were strictly censored, which restricted most of the freedom of speech of netizens. Su Lin hit the table and collapsed. Soon Su Lin cheered up again and requested a lot of standalone games that did not require an internet connection. From then on, he began to live a life of playing games in prison for 5 years. During these 5 years, Su Lin made various material demands, refused all visits, and was completely addicted to his cell. The warden went to see him, he was playing a game. The Secretary General went to see him, and he was sleeping. Relatives of the Su family went to see him, and he was playing games. Colleagues from the institute went to see him, and he was sleeping. Proposing to meet? And oh, he is not familiar with those people. 5 years have gone by so quickly, and a lot has happened in those 5 years. For example, in July 35, 22, the head of state married the general of the King of Qin. For example, in 35-23, the two of them cultivated the second prince of the Federation. This prince inherited the excellent genes of his parents and had a bright future. For example, in 35-24, the two of them bred 2 children again, twins, both of whom had the same excellent genes as their parents. For example, in 35-35, the two of them bred another child for the 3rd time, who was equally excellent. For example, in 35-26, the two welcomed their 5th and 6th outstanding children. In 35-27, the two finally stopped. Many people breathed a sigh of relief, including Su Lin. Damn it, he almost thought that the head of state and the general only wanted to have children after they got married. So fertile. Together with the 2 children he has with Su Lin, the head of state already has 8 children, comparable to a football team. Of course, apart from giving birth to children, General Qin is as active as he was before his marriage. He heroically raided several monster nests and saved the people from fire and water many times. He didn't care about his identity at all. He was always at the forefront of the battlefield and led his army to sweep away thousands of monsters. This general became famous as a young man. He was always warlike and brave. He had the title of hero early on. He was a strong man worshipped by countless people. He was like this before marriage and became even more popular after marriage. He seemed to be a third party in his marriage to the head of state. At first, he encountered many voices of opposition from the people, but as time went by, those voices had long disappeared. It can only be said that their head of state is very charming, and both the predecessor and the current president are outstanding talents. It's difficult to make a comparison, after all, they are completely different fields. But one thing is for sure, the general is more suitable for the head of state than Su Lin. There is only one reason. Su Lin is an ordinary person who cannot undergo genetic evolution. His lifespan is destined to be only a few decades, and he will slowly age after entering middle age at the age of 30. The general and the head of state are genetically evolved strongmen. They won many honorary titles for their strong fighting prowess in their youth. They are the idols of many militant young people, and the head of state is even stronger than the general. It's just that the head of state has family support and sits in the highest position at a young age. The general with no family background only became a general after that. Now both of them are in their 40s, but their appearance is the same as that of 27 or 80-year-olds, and their physical strength is even more so. However, Su Lin, an ordinary person, is old. June of 3527 is the beginning of summer again. Su Lin walked out of the air prison and looked up at the vast sky that he had not seen for a long time. Even a dead man felt relaxed and happy. Su Lin smiled with satisfaction and walked towards the prison station with his backpack. The warden drove up from behind and said, "Mr. Su, please wait a moment. Someone will pick you up in person soon." Su Lin waved his hand. "No, I'll take a ride and leave by myself." "Mr. Su, please cooperate. The Secretary General will come to pick you up soon." Su Lin frowned. "I said no. He is not my father. Why should I leave with him? Please tell the Secretary General and just say thank you for his care in the past few years. I have been released from prison and am free. I hope not to see him in the future." "Mr. Su, please get in the car, and I'll take you to the station." The warden had no choice but to compromise. "Okay, thanks." Su Lin hurriedly got into the car. The ring road from the Sky Prison travels all the way down in a 360-degree direction. It takes an hour to enter the city. There is a checkpoint in the middle that cannot be passed without a pass. As soon as the warden's car stepped out of the checkpoint, he saw countless media reporters crowded outside. The warden frowned and had a bad feeling in his heart. Su Lin was released from prison today. Did these people get the news? The warden hurriedly asked the guards to evacuate the crowd, hoping to forcefully drive away while others were not paying attention. When reporters saw the warden's car, they did not block it and gave way to the road. But just as the car was about to drive away, the closed window opened, revealing a familiar yet unfamiliar face. "I don't know who shouted. Queen Su." The crowd exploded. The warden's heart skipped a beat, but it was difficult to break through. The car was quickly blocked by the media, and there was no way to get through. "Queen Su, it's really him." "Mr. Su, why were you sentenced to prison? We have the right to know." "Mr. Su, how many years have you been in prison?" "Mr. Su, have you been wronged?" "Mr. Su." Questions came one after another. Su Lin was so frightened that he closed the car window, and his face was almost scratched. Although he was fast enough, he was still photographed by the media a lot. The short, tangled hair that was clearly that of a prisoner, the thin, old and haggard face, and the panicked expression were enough for the media to make countless fanciful reports. In less than 5 minutes, the news of Su Lin's release from prison was overwhelming on the internet. Various speculations emerged one after another, and nothing could be confirmed. Only Su Lin's current appearance was not fake. "Oh my God, she looks so crippled. Is this still the beautiful Queen Su? God is so cruel." Countless girls were wailing. "Sad. This is the sadness of genes not being able to evolve." No wonder the head of state wanted to divorce him. I suddenly knew the truth. Damn. You still dare to compete with the general like this? We want to know the truth. Why is Mr. Su in jail? The Federation exploded, and the news about Su Lin was overwhelming. The Secretary General stood beside the head of state with a pale face. No one thought that the news would be leaked, but as long as we investigate carefully, we will know the truth soon. Tang Xianong didn't speak. He was looking at the report about Su Lin on the computer screen. The photo showed Su Lin sitting in a car, surrounded by a group of reporters. Tang Xianong looked at it for a while and then said, "There is no need to investigate. The important thing is not that the news leaks, but to settle the matter as soon as possible." Yes. There were obviously many reporters waiting there. If Su Lin had not opened the car window, no reporters would have seen him. But Su Lin opened it, even if it was only for a short moment. It was enough to cause the current chaotic situation. And what is Su Lin's purpose? Avenge? And oh, he has no grievances. Revenge? Too childish. Tang Xianong turned off the news and continued to read the documents in his hand. There was a lot of excitement and chaos outside, but the culprit, Su Lin, was staying in a remote suburban house. There were several guards watching him outside. As mentioned above, Su Lin was not allowed to leave the house until the matter calmed down. When Su Lin found out, he just smiled, closed the door, and continued to stay at home. He knew that his past identity would bring countless troubles, but his identity as queen was a trivial matter, mainly because Professor Jean's constraints were too deceptive. Even if he dies, he can only be the dead ghost of the Federation, and he can't even think about leaving the Federation. There is too much genetic information in his brain. He is a mobile database and a mobile brain. The Federation will not let him go free easily. He will probably have to be monitored until his death. Of course, the Federation will not let him die. It is keeping him now. Maybe one day he will be needed to go back and study in the future. The benefits that genes bring to human beings are too tempting. Whether it is the Federation or other empires, the most rare thing is genetic research talents. Su Lin learned from his memory that the biggest reason why he was divorced and abandoned was probably not because of love, but the semi-finished genetic evolution fluid T3 he developed. Ever since Su Ziyang, the father of genes, developed the genetic evolution fluid T1, mankind has ushered in a new era. After taking T1, half of the human race on Earth will undergo genetic mutation and grow into powerful warriors with special powers. This great achievement allowed humans to quickly keep mutant monsters at bay. It broke the previous horrific situation where monsters were sweeping across the world and humanity was almost wiped out. Genetic evolution allows them to regain control of their own destiny. It is a pity that T1 can only successfully evolve half of the population. There are still half of the people on the Earth who have not changed at all after taking T1. These are ordinary people. Su Lin is one of them. The same is true for him and Tang Xuanong's 2 children. After his father's death, Su Lin's biggest wish was to improve the evolutionary fluid and strive to let the other half gain power and receive equal treatment. After years of hard work, he developed T2. Unfortunately, T2 could only allow a small number of people to evolve. So, he continued to develop the semi-finished product T3. The emergence of T3 was also a big breakthrough. T3 could almost evolve 80% of the human race in the world, but the price paid was that those people would slowly lose their humanity and become violent weapons that only knew how to fight. T3 could not keep their minds calm and clear all year round. Su Lin firmly believed that T3 should be destroyed and researched in another direction. Unfortunately, the higher-ups did not think so. They needed combat effectiveness and strong combat effectiveness to deal with monsters. Just like nuclear weapons 1,000 years ago, everyone knows that nuclear weapons will cause great harm to humans and the Earth, but every country is eager to study them and even use them quietly. The emergence of T3 caused the relationship between Su Lin and Tang Xianong to become sharply rigid, leading to a divorce after 2 years of quarrel. Now he was given up, but still controlled. The Federation will not let him spread the shortcomings of T3, let alone bring technology to the major empires across the sea. It is difficult to be free. As the sun sets, the sun illuminates the villa in a beautiful red color. Hearing the knock on the door, Su Lin opened his eyes. The maid Lena said at the door, "Mr. Su, there are guests coming to see you." For chapter 3,000 years. The fastest update to the latest chapter of Rebirth of the Future, Urban Immortal Journey. Chapter 3,000 years. Su Lin yelled, without asking who the guest was, and walked directly out in his slippers. There weren't many people he could find here, and they wouldn't be the ones he wanted to see anyway. The atmosphere in the living room was solemn and depressing, and the guards were standing outside. Tang Xianong was sitting on the sofa, as if his mere presence could make the space tight. Su Lin firmly believed that people who were not strong-willed would probably be nervous if they stood next to him. Su Lin was wearing a loose shirt, pajamas, and flip-flops. His hair was messy and uncombed. He looked haggard and slovenly. He was completely different from the previous Su Lin. Tang Xianong looked at him expressionlessly. A trace of suspicion flashed in his heart, and then he said, What do you want? Su Lin habitually crossed his legs on the sofa and said with a relaxed smile and a meditative posture, "The first is money, the second is freedom of movement, and the third is a job I like. I haven't thought of anything else yet."
Money? This one is easy.
Free status? As long as he doesn't leave the imperial capital, there's no problem in not causing chaos with his identity. Favorite job? Back to the institute? Not available for now. Except for the third item, I can agree to everything else. Su Lin shook his head. You misunderstood me. The job I said I wanted to do had nothing to do with genetic research. I have no interest in that stuff, and I don't want to touch it anymore. It's possible to be a waiter, a network administrator, a professional game player, or a hunter. Tang Xianong didn't talk nonsense. I will give you a new identity, and you can find a job by yourself as you like. I believe you don't need my help to find a job. Su Lin was relieved. That's good. By the way, it would be better if there were fewer people watching me. Tang Xianong remained silent. Su Lin helplessly spread his hands. That's it. I'm going to eat. Su Lin walked to the kitchen and dining room in slippers, and Lena dutifully set out dinner. Tang Xianong watched his back disappear before looking away. Su Lin was really old, and his back was already a bit hunched. Tang Xianong came and went in a hurry, and Su Lin enjoyed the dinner happily. After eating and drinking, he suddenly asked Lena, "Lena, what do you think Tang Xianong and I look like together?" Lena was stunned for a moment, not understanding what this meant. Su Lin sneered. "Are they like father and son?" Lena was speechless. Su Lin wiped his mouth and went back to the room humming a song. The chaos caused by Su Lin's release from prison was quickly calmed down. Su Lin did not watch the news at all and played online games all day long. When the Secretary General came over with his new identity card, he saw Su Lin sitting in front of the computer and yelling rudely, "Fuck, silly T, can you be any more stupid? Your fucking golden equipment is for..." The Secretary General shivered and stared blankly at the ferocious-looking Su Lin. Why did he feel that the person in front of him was not Queen Su, but a depraved young man addicted to online games? You're the Secretary General. Is my ID card here? I'm suffocating." The Secretary General handed over the ID card silently. "This is your ID card, and some requirements you must comply with." "I know." Su Lin didn't care. His name is still Su Lin on the new ID card, but all other information has been changed, and he has become a completely ordinary person among ordinary people. This is not important. What is important is that all unique information such as fingerprints and irises have been cleverly concealed. The requirement to comply is undoubtedly not to reveal one's identity, let alone reveal relevant state secrets. The Secretary General sighed. "Your appearance is still dangerous when exposed. I suggest you change your appearance." Su Lin nodded. "I am prepared." "Then I take my leave." As soon as the Secretary General left, Su Lin smiled and took his ID card. "I can finally go out." The next day, Su Lin changed his hairstyle, put on trendy clothes, and wore a cartoon mask and helmet and drove straight to the busy street. For a whole month, Su Lin did nothing serious. He just walked around, looked everywhere, and played everywhere. The monitor didn't know what Su Lin was going to do, but all this was undoubtedly new to Su Lin. The Earth, which spans more than 1,000 years, is no longer the home he once knew. Even the Oriental faces that can be seen everywhere on the streets are no longer the same. Those people are holding various weapons casually and strolling on the streets in a grand manner. This was completely impossible 1,000 years ago. What if people pick up dangerous weapons? But now I have seen it with my own eyes: hot weapons, guns, cold weapons, and swords. The variety is dazzling. Some people did not have any weapons, but Su Lin saw with his own eyes that they killed a monster stronger than an elephant with one fist. Monsters. There are few monsters on the street, but many strange pets. But this does not hinder Su Lin's understanding of monsters. Large screens are hung everywhere in the city's high-rise buildings, and exciting documentaries of warriors fighting monsters may be broadcast live at any time.